What's up, vinyl community? It's your boy Ryan Webb back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about some nostalgic records, some records that have been with me for, I guess, not terribly a long time because I'm not that old. I'm only 17 years old at the moment. But I mean, records that just feel like they've got a history with me. I've got a lot of good memories of them, and I'll share some of those memories with you today in these videos with a lot of these nostalgic, sentimental records that are irreplaceable to me. So without further ado, let's get into the first one, and that is the Beatles 1, their greatest hits compilation from 2000. Now, if you watch my vinyl quarantine tag, which, let's be real, none of you did, sorry to call you out like that, don't want to be a little stinker about it, but it's true. Anyways, moving on from that, in the vinyl quarantine tag, I brought up that this was the record that got me into music as a whole, because it's an album I've known for literally forever. It's probably the album I've known about for the longest time because my mom had a copy of the CD back in the day, and I've actually got it now. It is this CD right here. It's quite beat up. In fact, see, look, the tray or whatever this part of the CD is called literally comes off, and you got this part of the CD that's still at the bottom down here, but the one that's supposed to be at the top is not even there anymore. That's how well this CD was treated. But even though this CD is beat to crap, this is an irreplaceable CD to me because this was the one that my mom would always play when I was a kid. I remember hearing Yellow Submarine so many times when I was a little kid. I'd always make my mom go grab this CD and put on Yellow Submarine and just walk around, and my diaper's probably yellow, and we all live in a yellow submarine. So this CD especially is irreplaceable. But yeah, so my earliest memories of music are of this record, but also this album is what really kind of made me want to dive deep into like artists as a whole, because before then all I really listened to was artists' greatest hits, and not even the full greatest hits, just some of the songs I liked that were from my parents' iTunes that I had put on my iPod Touch at the time. But the Beatles were really the first band that made me want to dive deep into an artist's discography. Towards the end of my fifth grade, actually the very end of my fifth grade year, that summer before sixth grade, I remember there was, you guys ever watch those kids react videos back in the day? They still do all those react videos, but they're not as popular as they were back in the early 2010s. But I remember I watched a video of kids reacting to the Beatles, and they played I Want to Hold Your Hand, I Am the Walrus, and Hey Jude on there. And I watched those songs, or the kids reacting to them, I was like, those are great songs. And of course I knew the Beatles for Yellow Submarine, but then once I heard those songs, I was like, dang, I gotta listen to this. And even though this compilation doesn't have I Am the Walrus on it, I still listen to it all the time. Especially I remember at the beginning of my sixth grade year, I played it so much. It was my album of choice for a while, and I didn't even get my own Beatles album till like later on that, like, for example, like, for, I don't know how I'm trying to say, but pretty much I started getting into this album in May of 2013, and I didn't get my own official Beatles album besides this till November of that year when I bought the Magical Mystery Tour soundtrack. And so this was why I listened to so much. Even though a lot of these songs I don't consider my favorite Beatles songs, they're still just so sentimental to me because, I mean, I just heard them so much back in the day. Like Love Me Do, that intro, and the ending to Long and Winding Road, I just got so many fond memories of. And a lot of these songs are still a lot of my favorites, like She Loves You, I Feel Fine, Ticket to Ride, Penny Lane, All You Need Is Love, Lady Madonna, The Ballad of John and Yoko. I mean, I still love a lot of the songs on here, but it's just such a sentimental record to me that even though I can't say it's as irreplaceable as the CD, I still, if I were to have to save some records, if my house was burning down or something, or I could only choose some records to take with me to a desert island, I'd probably take this one because it's just a sentimental favorite and one that I still love a lot. And now for my next record, let me take you back to 2016 when I was in 8th grade and I was getting into Van Halen. Now the reason why I got into Van Halen was because for Christmas that year my parents got me a Van Halen t-shirt, which I still have. I should have worn it for fun, but it's kind of gone small on me. But at the time I wasn't too into Van Halen. I just knew about Jump, like everyone probably does when it comes to Van Halen. But whenever I got that shirt, I was like, maybe I should check out their albums. And so the first one I got was Diver Down, which I could have included on this video, maybe if I do another nostalgic records video, I'll include that one because it's very nostalgic. It's not one of my favorites, but it just has a lot of sentiment to me because it was my first Van Halen record. I really enjoyed it. I loved their cover of Oh Pretty Woman on there, as I know a lot of Van Halen fans do. And then after that, I got 1984, which of course has Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher, All Wait on it. Great record, but this one specifically is one that stands out. One, because it's my favorite Van Halen album, and it was also just the one that blew me away the most. I remember the first time I heard it, back in 8th grade. I was in this one class we had called Math Lab, which was it was a filler class because we had like 8 classes a day, but not all of them really had a point to them, like math and reading lab. They were just kind of filler classes. Be like, okay, do this math sheet. It was a boring class. I hated it, but I've got some sentiment towards it because I heard Van Halen's first record for the first time in that class. I remember because I'd heard Diver Down in 1984, and excuse me, and yeah, I'd heard those 2 albums. But then one day in that class on Spotify, I was like, let's listen to the first album, and from the opening riff of Running with the Devil, I was just like, wow, this is great. It's got like Running with the Devil is one of the greatest opening tracks of rock and roll history. I think we can all agree on that. It's just so killer. And you go from that into Eruption, which, much like everyone else, I didn't really... I probably had heard the guitar tapping technique, but Eddie Van Halen just does it so well. Like, you hear that part towards the end of the Eruption where it goes like, no, 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 no. And I was just like, is Eddie Van Halen even human? He's so good. Like, Eruption, even 4 years later, it still blows me away this day because it's just so good. And you got other killer songs on here like Jamie's Crying, You Really Got Me, I'm the One, my personal favorite, Atomic Punk, and you got the closer, On Fire, which is just an amazing, amazing closer. And I just love it so much. And another nostalgic thing about this record for me was the way I got it. So at the time, I used to get $10 allowance each week, but then my parents started taking Dave Ramsey courses, and so instead of getting $10 a week, $40 a month essentially, I only got $20 each month, so then they could save money. And essentially that $20 was all I got for if I wanted to spend money. So I spent a lot of money on records usually because even though I do love playing video games, a lot of them were $60 and they were too much of a risk of an investment because why would I want to buy a video game that I've never played that could potentially be a dud when I can buy an album by a band that I'll probably love, which, yeah, that's probably how I got so many records. But I'd already spent that month's $20 and I really was dying to get a copy of this record. So what I did was I just bugged the hell out of my mom for it. Like, my mom would be like, what do you want for lunch? I'd be like, I want Van Halen's debut record. How are you doing? Oh, I'd be better if I had a copy of Van Halen's debut. And I did it so much for like a month that eventually she just went crazy. It was just like, fine, I'll get you that record. She probably just wanted to get me so I'd shut up about it because I was just dying to get this album. And I went to this local store chain that used to be popular there. It's out of business now, unfortunately, called Hastings, and they sold records. And that was where I got this album brand new. And it's even got the black and white sleeve, which I don't know why it's black and white. Like, I got an original pressing of this album, and the inner sleeve is in color. I mean, I remember seeing these dudes, and I was like, dang, I want hair like Eddie or David. They just look so sick in these pictures. They know they're cool. And yeah, if I begged my mom for an entire month and eventually got it, you can probably tell I played this album a lot. And I still listen to it a lot. Van Halen is still one of my favorite bands, but at the time they were my all-time favorite band, and I love them to death. And this is just a killer album, and it's very nostalgic. And in fact, I got something else. So I don't know if I've said this already, but I'm actually a senior in high school at the moment. I'm getting ready to graduate in a couple of weeks. And something we did back in my 8th grade year when I was first getting into Van Halen at the end of 8th grade was we wrote these notes to ourselves. And I actually just got mine back today, fun fact. And what it was a note as well as another piece of paper where we wrote down all of our favorite stuff on it. Now, I'm not going to share all of it with you because I was an edgy 13-year-old and I said lots of things that are so cringy nowadays to me. Like we all were stupid kids at one point, let's be real, and we think of stuff that we thought was amazing back in the day that now we're just like, oh, why? So that's why I'm not going to share. There's nothing terribly offensive, it's just vulgar indecent in my opinion that I don't want to be putting on this. So, but what I will share from this is you got this list of favorites right here. My favorite musical entertainer at the time was Van Halen, and my favorite music video was Hot for Teacher by Van Halen, which whenever I was telling my mom about that, she got a laugh out of that, because if you've seen the Hot for Teacher video, it's it's quite something for an 8th grader to be putting down for his favorite music video. And then for my favorite musical instrument, I put Frankenstrat, which is Eddie Van Halen's guitar, and for my favorite song, I put Atomic Punk by Van Halen. So yeah, you can tell I love Van Halen. And then also on this note to myself, which I'm not going to read the entirety of, but at the very end, I put my favorite artists at the bottom of it. This is how I ended off the note. I put, make sure you still game on and listen to Van Halen, Kiss, Pink Floyd, The Police, and Metallica. Shine on You Crazy Diamond, which is a Pink Floyd reference, obviously. And I still listen to Van Halen and Kiss. I just saw them in concert before all this happened. Pink Floyd and The Police, but Metallica I'm not as big of a fan of anymore. I still listen to them from time to time, but I don't enjoy them as much. But just thought I'd share these little tidbits to show you how much of a fan of Van Halen was even back then. And I just find that stuff funny. But anyways, on to the next record. We got another album that I guess is from around the 8th grade, freshman year type thing. We got Purple Rain by Van Halen. Now, obviously in middle school, you don't got prom. You don't get prom till high school, which, because of all this quarantine, I didn't get a senior prom. Yay, but I got to experience prom junior year anyways. But yeah, in middle school, you don't get prom, but what we got was an 8th grade banquet, which was essentially they rent out a place, cater food, and you can dance. And I remember it being an okay time. I didn't have a date with me, so it probably would have been funner if I had a date. But towards the end of it, I was just ready to get home. I was not having too much fun watching all my friends. Or at least some of them were dancing with people, even though they didn't have dates. We went as a group with some of my friends, but they all eventually found people to dance with. But I was too shy to go and ask someone to dance, so I was kind of alone. But then towards the end of the night, I'm waiting for my parents, and the DJ, he goes, "All right, guys, we're gonna play one final song from an artist that we lost recently." And then you hear the opening guitar, like the Purple Rain, and I see someone nearby going, "Yes!" And I'm like, "Hey, is this Prince?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's Purple Rain." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so I decided to stay and listen to it. And now I didn't know too much about Prince at the time. I only knew him for 1999. But all of a sudden, once he died, everyone was like, "Oh my God, rest in peace, Purple Rain." And so I was like, you know what? I'll stay and listen to Purple Rain for the first time. And I'm sure it would have been more magical if I was dancing with someone, but I was just sitting alone in a corner with my parents text me to hurry up. But anyways, I remember listening to the song. I was like, holy crap, this is a great song. It's so beautiful. And I walked out of the banquet and I got on my phone and was looking for it on Spotify. But at the time, none of Prince's stuff was on Spotify. All he had was just one song, and that was it. And so I unfortunately didn't get to hear Purple Rain until later that summer when I went up to go see some family in Oklahoma. And my uncle, he's got a pretty big record collection as well as a record player. And he told me, he's like, if you see anything you want, you can take it with you or listen to it. And so then there was one day that I was up there, and then in the afternoons, all they did was take naps for like 2 or 3 hours. So I had the afternoon to myself, and so I went through and looked through his record collection. I was like, oh, he's got Purple Rain. I want to listen to it. And so I listened to it, and from the opening, intro of Let's Go Crazy to the final part of The Beautiful Ones where Prince is screaming his heart out, to Darling Nikki, to where, the controversial song where Prince says, he says masturbate. Yeah, and then finally when we got to Purple Rain, I waited like 2 months to hear that song, and it was all worth it. And Prince, I consider to be my favorite artist of all time, and even though Purple Rain probably wouldn't be in my top 10 favorite Prince albums, at the same time, if I could only listen to 10 albums by Prince for the rest of my life, I'd still probably find a way to squeeze this one in there, because it's just so sentimental to me, and it got me into Prince. I love it, and it's, what more can I say? Anyways, now for the next one. Now we're not doing middle school type ones anymore. We're into my high school years now. When Tom Petty died, I had just started my sophomore year of high school, and I had been getting into him for about a year. And even though I was only a fan of him for a year and hadn't heard too much, I still felt really inspired by what I had heard, and I was just in love with it. Even The Losers, as someone who is a loser, let's be real, that song kind of hit close to home with me. A song about how even losers get lucky sometimes, and I loved it. Full Moon Fever I was blown away by at the time, and it still is a great album. I love it a lot. So whenever I heard the news that Tom Petty died, I'm going to be real with you guys, I almost cried on the bus ride home that day. It was just such a shocking revelation. And I spent the rest of that school year listening to so much Tom Petty because part of me didn't even want to accept that he was dead, especially when I was hearing all the stuff I hadn't heard. I was like, wow, is this man really dead? Can we please have him back for a little bit? And the ones that I listened to the most of the time were Into the Great Wide Open, Full Moon Fever, and Damn the Torpedoes. But this one was one that I listened to a lot because even though I'm more of a fan of studio albums, I still like to have a compilation. And this one, it's a great compilation. It's definitely not probably as a good of an entry point as the recent one from last year where it has more of his songs, but to me this is just more sentimental to me because it got me through that time when Tom Petty died and through sophomore year, which was also just a difficult year for me emotionally. And so it got me through a lot. And one specific memory I have of this record was I went looking at Christmas lights with my mom that year, and while I was looking at those Christmas lights, this was the album I had playing in the background. That's all the story I have for it. It's nothing too amazing, long of a story like what I had for Van Halen or Prince, but it's just one of those simple memories that I hold on to dearly, and I would never want to forget about. This record, obviously, like I'm saying, it got me through a lot, and it's very sentimental to me, and it's irreplaceable. And now for the final one, we've got Frampton Comes Alive. Now, like I said, sophomore year was a tough year for me emotionally, but towards the end of it, things started getting better, and around the time things started getting better, I heard Frampton Comes Alive for the first time. I always had seen it in record stores ever since I started collecting. We all know it's a common record, we've all got it, and I was like, maybe I should get it, but I didn't want to listen to it, but I didn't know any of the songs off the top of my head, so I remember I listened to it in my writing class that not long after that, just to hear it while I was writing something, and I was like, oh my god, this is an amazing live album. Something's happening, Doobie Wash, Show Me the Way, All I Want to Be Is By Your Side, Baby I Love Your Way, I'll Give You Money, and the amazing Do You Feel Like We Do. I mean, I was just blown away, and I got this record, I remember like right at the beginning of summer vacation along with some other albums, and I listened to this so much. I remember I listened to it on my phone on a long car ride to Las Cruces, New Mexico, and that year I'd actually started working my first job, which I'm still working now at the moment, and I remember listening to this album a lot whenever it was just kind of me on my own because I loved it a lot, and listening to the songs so much. And then another tidbit about this record was last year when I was getting towards the end of my junior year, I was signing up for the classes I was going to be taking this year whenever I'm a senior. And what I really wanted to do at the time was jazz band, because it let me a class where I can play my guitar. I mean, I wanted to do it, but at the same time, I was kind of like, if I'm gonna be in the jazz band, I gotta prove I'm a worthy guitarist and not just some dude that can play a simple pentatonic scale. And so I studied a lot of Frampton Comes Alive solos and videos about his solos, like by Rick Beato, and I mean, Peter Frampton just had a huge influence on me as a guitar player, and he still does. I listened to this record a good amount, at least the songs a lot. And another fun fact was last year I tried out for our school's first talent show with Baby I Love Your Way. Didn't make it, which maybe was for the best. I don't know, but yeah, that just shows you how much of an influence Peter Frampton has been on me, to where I'm going to sing his song. He influences me on my own guitar playing, and he's just one of my favorite guitar players in general. And this record just has so many sentimental memories from that summer and last year. I just love it, and it's irreplaceable. Yeah, those are my 5 nostalgic records. I only included 5 because this video is already 19 minutes long, and I can go on about my memories forever. And I've got plenty of other nostalgic records for me that are so sentimental that I may make another part 2, part 3, part 5 million whenever I collect records at the moment. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want, you can comment some nostalgic records below, or make a whole video like I said in my One Hit Wonder video. Let's get a thread going if you want. But anyways, I have been Ryan Webb, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.